Throughout the process of delving deeper into media and its theories and applications that challenge us to apply a multitude of rhetorical lenses, we've specifically been asked to do so through the process of encoding messages in the media text through which it was presented. And now, in the second part of this project, in which we selected a specific commercial to analyze the media text, we will now look further into the meaning that the audience has decoded through engagement with the same media text in a mini ethnographic essay. In my initial videographic essay, which addressed the text itself and the meaning that was encoded through my chosen commercial, we saw that the ideology was somewhat clear in the 30-second advertisement, but also perhaps manufactured through the construction of a consensus, which Cruteau and Hoynes say is a corollary of such. There's a sense of normalization through the media text, and because of this, the range of behaviors, lifestyles, preferences, etc., is very much narrowed in what it is portrayed as or presented. Through this construction of a consensus, the advertisement attempts to state the obvious. Women prefer a real man, the one who drives the shiny big truck. A deeper look at the ad revealed that the producers of the advertisement are subconsciously reinforcing an implied notion that men are the only ones who drive trucks, and that the lifestyle of someone who drives a truck must assume attraction or allure on a heterosexual basis, as we see that ultimately the women in this advertisement were the only group polled. In an attempt to ultimately answer the question, in what ways are gender stereotypes perpetuated by entertaining and humorous advertising attempts, I administered a focus group study in order to observe their reactions to the media text. Because of the opinionated nature and individual responses, a focus group seemed more appropriate in this instance to gather somewhat of a consensus and not elicit potentially skewed passionate beliefs and attitudes toward the posed inquiry. While consensus itself can be dangerous, as I mentioned in my videographic essay, I was willing to assume the risk in order to avoid false, constructed responses that are actually not truly innate. Sometimes the authenticity of a true feeling is compromised in the survey format and is instead leaned on the side of extreme. Ironically, the chosen advertisement contains an apparently genuine, although it seemed fictitious, focus group. So my focus group observed a focus group in the advertisement, which is a complete coincidence in my process of isolating a media text. Strategically selected for my study was a somewhat diverse group containing gay and straight males and females in the 25 to 45 age range. I decided that a content analysis that coincided with discourse analysis of the media text warranted a selected group of 5 of my friends, most of whom were not even acquainted with each other. This selection was a deliberate attempt to hinder any potential for inordinacy in like-minded responses. A pre-meeting survey posed the following questions to gather some quantitative data. The results show that of the 5 participants, 2 were girls and 3 were guys, with 1 from each identifying as gay and the 3 others identifying as straight. The age ranged from the youngest participant at 28 years old to the oldest being 44. Although their responses were recorded, they were not shared among the group. Not surprisingly, internet-based media platforms were the most commonly consumed. Although the demographics of the small group contained a slight range, overall, the subjects were from similar socioeconomic backgrounds, and I was able to evoke more nuanced ideas and responses to the discussion. In sitting down and merely presenting the commercial after collecting the subjects' responses to the initial demographic survey, I decided it was more beneficial to let the commercial run in its entirety without posing any questions that provoked critical thinking or analysis. I mean, remember too, we're in a coffee shop where I asked everyone to gather because I had a school project and I didn't really tell them what it was about. So I simply asked the group to watch the commercial while I went to grab some coffee. But I discreetly placed my phone on the table, or it was already there, and I discreetly recorded the entire interaction. Now. I understand what you might be thinking, but it's okay. These are my friends. So upon completion of the first viewing of the commercial, I returned and I started it over and kind of just took few steps back, took more mental notes, and as they watched, and I just observed. And I also had a little pad with me that I was taking real notes with. So, in this observation and kind of removing myself from the situation, so, simulating a self removal from the situation, that was beneficial. During my group's informal discussion that took place during both viewings of the video, twice as a group, the participants almost unanimously pointed out the absence of the groups that were initially introduced in the commercial and were substituted by the all-female group that remained. Furthermore, the majority of my subjects noticed the reframing of the initial question in the commercial that asked, "Can a truck change how people feel about a guy?" to "Which man is sexier?" pulling the women only. The group immediately noticed the blatant trickery that the commercial pulled in completely reframing the initial open-ended question. It's important to note that Joel's response echoes the gendered theme of the commercial, as he uses truck and manhood in the same sentence. As the commercial progressed to display the same man standing next to two different vehicles, two of the gals in the group predictably addressed the man in the same manner that the fictitious group from the commercial did. This underlines the notion from our Media and Society text on page 236 that suggests that, quote, media companies compete for advertising dollars by developing products that are targeted at narrow, demographically specific audiences advertisers want to reach, end quote. Another young man in my focus group followed up with a comment on the comical aspect of the commercial, laughing and saying that the narrator's voice was cheesy. Welcome back. So, overall, I found that the group's response centered around a theme that incorporated manliness with trucks and girls, unsurprisingly, much like the commercial blatantly attempted. Furthermore, the advertisement's attempt in humor was not only verbally acknowledged by my group, but was influential in instilling it in the viewers. This transfer both reinforces the frequency of gender stereotypes in media by subtly suggesting that it not be taken seriously, and it deliberately downplays the prominence of it through its humorous undertones. Because of the prevalence of portable technology mediums, and especially in an environment such as a coffee shop, this focus group study was ideal. In utilizing my own acquaintances and a fairly familiar social setting, such as a coffee shop, for this study, I assumed a great deal of comfort in the setting from both myself, the observer, and the group itself. This aspect led me to believe that I would garner genuine responses, as highlighted in our text, How to Do Media and Cultural Studies, on pages 190 through 196. My original synopsis concluded that this advertisement reinforced gender ideologies in modern media by bolstering such stereotypes seen within it. In my original analysis, I essentially made the blatantly presented correlation between a man, his truck, and the female reaction. My focus group study revealed much of the same, a consensus. The interpretations among the subjects in my focus group aligned with my original interpretation of the commercial as a blatant attempt to use humor as a catalyst to reinforce an overt notion. So, future personal endeavors involving similar research may very well benefit from using media texts longer in duration, combined with more in-depth approaches that utilize surveys and greater quantity of subjects from which to ascertain data. Thank you.